Hey guys, it's Kyle Studios here, and in today's video I'm going to be ranking every single coaster by RMC Rocky Mountain Construction that I've ridden. Now this does encompass almost every RMC coaster in the United States. There's only two I have not ridden, being Fire Runner at Lost Island and Stunt Pilot at Silverwood. Otherwise, I've ridden every single RMC coaster in the United States, which just actually happened very recently. The most recent one I rode was the newest one to open in the States, which might give it away a little. But I want to make it clear that all of these rides, except for the last one because it's a little different, they're all great rides. None of them are bad at all, but picking which one I like more than the other is always going to be arbitrary. It can depend on the day, so I'm fully expecting you guys to probably disagree with me a lot on this one, and that's okay. We're all entitled to our own opinions, but I'm going to kick off the list with number 20, which of course is Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City. This isn't really much of an RMC coaster. I mean, it was manufactured by RMC, and it's technically a coaster, so that's why it's here. But it's much more of a family kind of dark ride style attraction, and it's a great ride. I think it's a really, really well done dark ride, but for the sake of this list, doesn't really mesh well with the other coasters, so that's why it's down here at number 20. Now starting off with one of the real coasters from RMC, number 19, we have New Texas Giant. Now this of course is their first RMC coaster. It opened back in 2011 at Six Flags Over Texas, and I first rode it in 2020, and I hadn't ridden all of the RMCs at this point, but I had ridden a good amount of them, and I thought it was good back then. I thought that the first half had some surprising moments, and the second half had some nice little airtime moments as well. Then when I came back in 2024 to ride it again, it was a very different ride. The first half was running pretty sluggish, and then when we got to the mid-course brake run, it almost dead stopped. So the second half was essentially a glorified family coaster. It really didn't do much of anything. I'm trying to balance out my opinions of my initial rides and those rides, but those rides, of course, being more fresh in my memory, are going to be what I remember more. So that's why it's down here at number 19. It's the one coaster I honestly wish RMC would re-RMC, because I'd love to see what they would do with that layout with their design language now. Of course, that'll never happen, and like I said, this was their first coaster, so totally understandable that it is the way it is. But that is why New Texas Giant is down at number 19. Moving on to number 18, we have Twisted Cyclone at Six Flags Over Georgia. This is probably one of the shortest feeling RMCs, but it does pack a major punch. That first drop is really, really good. I love the weird, kind of take on a cobra roll for the first element. It's very interesting. The wave turn is great, and there's a bunch of really solid airtime pops as you go through the rest of the layout. But again, the problem with this ride is that it's just way too short. I feel like it would have benefited a lot from a third lap, kind of like how Wicked Cyclone has, and just a little bit more height. And then this would probably be one of the upper tier RMCs, but because it's so short, it does fall in on the lower end. Moving on to number 17, we have Jersey Devil at Six Flags Great Adventure. This is probably the RMC I've ridden the most by far. I've easily gotten over 300-400, maybe even 500 rides on this thing. I've ridden it a lot, and I've seen it in all different conditions. And when this ride is running at peak condition, it is great. The first half is so good. It's like an all-star of all of RMC's elements from their other coasters, all kind of put onto a Raptor. It's really, really well done. The second half, though, the ride definitely does die out a little bit. Those kind of weird, twisted airtime hills don't do too much, but they are fun nonetheless. And like I said, all these coasters are great, and that does include this. It's a really, really fun ride, but I do have to put number 16, Wonder Woman Flight of Courage at Six Flags Magic Mountain, just a hair over this one, because it does have a slightly better layout. For those of you that don't know, this ride and Jersey Devil are identical clones of each other, just that Wonder Woman has a bit of a different setup with the station where it actually turns. So the final two elements are actually this really cool, not wave turn airtime hill. It's like an off-axis airtime hill. It's really, really cool. And then an overbank that brings you into the brake run, which I think is definitely a better way to end the ride. It makes the second half feel a little bit more complete, but otherwise the difference between this and Jersey Devil is very marginal. Moving on to number 15, we have Joker at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. This is one of the RMCs that always gets a lot of hate, and yeah, it's definitely not one of the best RMCs, but it's still a great ride. That first drop is awesome with that twist in it, and I love all the inversions on this ride. It definitely feels more inversion focused, and I think all the inversions on this ride are so good. The step up underflip, which is that first element, great moment. It has one of the best RMC stalls in my opinion, because it has that great amount of whip and hang time, and the whole layout is just a really wacky ride. It feels very differently designed than a lot of the other RMCs, but I think that's what kind of sets this one apart and makes it really unique. And of course, it's packed full of great airtime, and that's all you can really ask for from an RMC. Moving on to number 14, we have Goliath at Six Flags Great America. This is another one that's definitely on the shorter side, and as a result, kind of gets a lot of flack, but I do think that for what it is, it's a great ride. The height of this thing alone is really, really impressive. It just feels gigantic in that park. And that first drop is nuts. 85 degrees going that far down. It's really, really insane. I also really like the turn that it has as you exit that drop, and the turn that's underneath it as well, because the way they're profiled, you kind of get this weird pop of airtime as you go in and out. I really like that. The airtime hills in the middle, the stall, the dive loop, all great elements, especially that stall. That stall feels like it goes forever. This is one of their topper track coasters. It's the lowest ranked topper track coaster I have in here, so it is going to be quite a bit rougher than a lot of the other RMCs, of course, because it is more of a wooden coaster. This one, I will say, is the smoothest of the topper track coasters that I've been on, but it does still have a little bit of a bite, which really isn't too big of an issue. But I feel like if this ride was longer, it could easily be one of the best RMCs, but for what it is, it's still a really good ride. Moving on to number 13, we have Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. Now, this is based more so off of my most recent rides in 2025. If we were talking about my 2020 rides, it would definitely be a couple spots higher, but they did actually add a little trim brake on this ride, which you can see right there, which really doesn't do too much, but it does make it run a little bit slower than it used to. Either way, though, this ride is unhinged. The original Raptor layout is just ridiculous. It's so intense. You wouldn't think it's possible for it to move as fast as it does, but it does. And the same thing can be said about number 12, which is Railblazer at California's Great America. The reason I have this one spot over Wonder Woman is because, like I said, Wonder Woman now has that trim brake, so it runs a little bit slower. Wonder Woman back in 2020, though, definitely would be a little bit better than Railblazer, but now they're almost evened out with that trim brake. But Railblazer, I really like the theme of this one. They're mirror images of each other, and they have very different setups for the way that they're loaded and operated and all of that. I really like the rock work around Railblazer because you get a lot of near-miss moments on it that you don't get on Wonder Woman. So both of these rides are absolutely incredible. Moving on to number 11, we have Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City, which is the next topper track coaster we have on the list. This provides one of the best night rides ever. If you ever get the chance to do this at night, it's great. I do hear that they have added some lights though, so that might lessen the effect a little bit more. But back when I rode it in 2020 for the first time, the fireworks show was going off while it was pitch black at night. It was absolutely insane. But this was their first topper track coaster, the first wooden coaster to go upside down 3 times. And it definitely, you can tell that this is one of the earlier RMCs, but that doesn't mean it's not good. It's got a really powerful layout with a lot of really good airtime moments, and you can't beat that ending with the double barrel roll. It's so cool and very different than a lot of the other RMCs out there. Moving on to number 10, we have Wind Chaser, formerly known as Storm Chaser, at Kentucky Kingdom. Now, I've not ridden this ride in quite a bit now. Last time I rode it was 2019, but when I did ride it in 2019, it was running really good. It was super aggressive, and again, it's a little on the shorter side compared to some of the other RMCs. At least that's what people say. I think it's a pretty good length. And this ride is definitely focused more on power than anything else. I love that barrel roll down drop. It's a really great element, and from there on, it's just an airtime machine, launching you out of your seat as powerfully as possible, and that's really where this ride shines. If it runs a little slow, it's definitely going to rank a lot lower for you, but if you're able to catch it when it is running at full speed, this thing is a monster. It's so good. Moving on to number 9 is a very difficult one for me, and that is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Now, I've ridden this ride in 2 different forms. I have not ridden it with the chain lift. If I had ridden it with the chain lift, it would probably be ranked a bit lower if I had to take a wild guess. But I rode it first in 2019, and if you watch my footage from 2019, it was running ridiculously fast. When that launch hit, you kept going and going, and you did not slow down going over the top. So you got this crazy pop of ejector airtime. If Lightning Rod still ran the way it did for me in 2019, it would probably be at the top of this list. I'm not going to lie. But after that, they started neutering it slowly but surely. When I rode it again in December of 2022, or November rather, they had a lot of the topper track replaced with iBox track, which did actually improve the ride. It made it run a little faster, and it smoothed it out. But the launch was significantly slowed at the top, so you did not get that ridiculous airtime over the top. And to me, that was always my favorite part of the ride, so losing that definitely stung a little bit, and that's why it's down here at number 9. But that doesn't disregard the fact that this ride's great. It has such a good layout. It's all the way back in the woods, and it may feel short, but honestly, I thought that just the whole package from that launch to the final breaks was such a rush and really couldn't be beaten for a while. Obviously now it's a little different. That's why I'm kind of dreading going back to riding it again with the chain lift, because I just have a feeling it won't hit the same. I loved that launch. I'm a sucker for a good launch lift tilt, and that was probably my favorite one. So this one's a little bittersweet. But that's why I have it here at number 9 for the last time I rode it, which was when the launch was slowed down and it had a lot of the iBox track. Moving on to number 8, we have Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This is one that blew me away when I first rode it, and every time I ride it, I just like it more and more, especially a night ride on this thing. Absolutely insane. And this one feels very different than a lot of the other RMCs. A lot of the RMCs, they feel like they kind of pack elements in really tight and just bam, bam, bam. This one I feel draws them out a little more, which allows the big moments of the ride to really stand out. You have that big first drop, which is absolutely insane. One of the best first drops on an RMC coaster. You have that airtime hill going up into the turn, which is really, really good. The 0G roll, which is just so nice and floaty. And I actually really like the section on top of the quarry wall because it's very unique. You get some very different forces out of it. But then the best part of the ride is easily the quarry wall drop, which just sends you flying out of your seat. It's ridiculous. Then you finish off flying through that tunnel and getting thrown out of your seat into the brakes. It is definitely a bit of a shorter ride, but it is so good. It really does pack a punch. Plus, this and New Texas Giant have what I deem as the much better restraints, being those trains from Gerstlauer. Those ones are so much more comfortable in my opinion, and I kind of wish all the other ones had these trains, but regardless, this ride is so good. Moving on to number 7, we have Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Now, I do need to preface, I have never actually gotten a dueling ride on this. Both of my, or I don't know how many rides I got, a few of my rides, all of them did not have any dueling aspect whatsoever. But honestly, that was fine, because the ride itself is so good that I can only imagine what the dueling must do for it. I really like the first bit with the blue track where you have all those airtime moments as you're dueling the green track. Really like the 0G roll on the blue track as well. That one is a really surprising moment. And the green track, of course, has that stall, and this ride is just all about airtime. There's so many powerful airtime moments. Honestly, it was a lot stronger than I was expecting because I didn't really know what to expect going into this ride because typically dueling coasters are going to be kind of profiled a little weird just so they can match up with the other side, but this one felt very natural, very well done, and definitely, for me, is the best coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain, no doubt about that. Moving on to number 6, we have Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. This is one of the best small RMCs, and it's really insane how fast it can run. I've ridden this a few times over the years. I first rode it back in 2017, and it was my first ever RMC. Blew my mind back then. I had it as my number 1 coaster for a while. Then I kind of calmed down a little bit. Rode it again in 2021 and was reminded of just how ridiculous this ride is. And then I rode it again at the beginning of this year, and it was running so fast. You could see from the POVs we filmed that it was really moving quick, especially for a morning on a kind of colder day. It was running so fast. I was blown away by just how much speed this thing can carry. And again, this kind of brings back to that Twisted Cyclone comparison. If Twisted Cyclone was more like this ride, oh man, it would be unbelievable. But I love the fact that this ride has like a lot of these really strange airtime pops where you kind of lead into them, not gradually, but it kind of builds up. So like, just for instance, those outer bank turns and those little tiny bits underneath the structure. I love how you have those weird bank turns that keep like repeating, and then bam, outer bank. It's so cool and really does make this ride stand out from the other RMCs as feeling very different than them. And that's probably why I like it so much. It's very different than the other ones and still packs such a major punch. At number 5, we have what is, in my opinion, the best smaller RMC, Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion. As much as I love Wicked Cyclone, I can't put it above Twisted Timbers because Twisted Timbers is ridiculous. This is one of the RMCs that genuinely feels like it is trying to rip you out of the seat as hard as it can. It's very rapid fire, very fast paced, but that doesn't mean that all the airtime moments are just pops. A lot of the airtime hills just send you flying out of your seat for an extended period of time, and there's so many elements on this ride that I absolutely love. I really like that turnaround after the trick track double up, where you're underneath the structure and you just get tossed around left, right, left. It's unbelievable. There's so many great aspects of this ride. I could talk about it all day. And picking between this and 305 as the best coaster in the park is always a toss-up, but this one definitely puts up a good fight. Now as we get to the Big 4, as I call them. These are all the 4 kind of larger scale RMCs that everyone tends to rave about. And to a certain degree, this is a little interchangeable. I definitely think that 1 and 2, and honestly 3 as well, are a little bit above 4, which might confuse some people. But at number 4, I have Steel Vengeance and Cedar Point. Now, when I first rode Steel Vengeance, it was my favorite coaster ever, and it stayed that way for quite a long time. But as the ride has aged, I feel like it's kind of lost that punch it originally had. When I first rode it back in the day in 2018, it was running trimless, it was running ridiculously fast, and it was just this unbelievable, relentless ride start to finish with crazy strong airtime. Now, it is still a great ride. The first half is awesome, but you're almost always going to have trims hit on that mid-course brake run, and that makes the second half not quite as good. A lot of these hills are going to feel a little bit weaker than you would be expecting, which is fine. I mean, that's just how the ride is now. But I do think that the newer RMCs definitely have a better design language. This one feels very repetitive, like you're doing the same thing over and over again, which I'm fine with when it's such a great element, but I would rather see some of those more unique design elements come in, and that's why I do prefer the other three more. But that doesn't mean the Steel Vengeance isn't a great ride. It's an incredible, great ride for Cedar Point. I mean, it's this monster in the back of the park that looms over everything. It's great. But I do think that the three newest RMC hybrids to open in the States are superior to Steel Vengeance. Starting off at number 3, we have Wildcat's Revenge at Hershey Park. This ride, when it was first announced, I thought it looked really good, but I definitely didn't think it was going to be one of the best RMCs out there. But here we are with it being almost one of the best RMCs out there. This ride is such a powerhouse, and it's got a very unique layout too, because it has some elements that you can't find on the other RMC coasters. For one, it's got that giant underflip, which is something you can find on Joker, but this one is so much better. And it's got that powerful pop of airtime, which is just so sustained and so ridiculous. Then you have that excellent wave turn with that crazy pop into it, the really strong airtime in it, and then you fly down into the stall, which is a really, really good stall. It's very fast paced, so you're not going to get too much hang time out of it, but the whip in and out of it is what really makes it. Then, of course, you go through another wave turn. This ride really does love its wave turns, because this one's even better than the first one, which is insane. Then you have that crazy double up element that is just full of laterals, which is not something you get to see on the RMCs all too often. It's ridiculous. Then you have the 0G roll, which sends you flying out of your seat both vertically and laterally. Then you finish off the ride with another inversion and that crazy airtime finale that's just chucking you out of your seat. It's such a great ride. I really can't put into words just how good it is. I also love the pre-lift section because you do actually get airtime on it, and it's very just wacky and aggressive. I love it. Love the theme of the ride, and I love that Hershey chose to RMC Wildcat and turn it into this as opposed to something smaller scale like Joker. This ride is just unhinged. It's definitely the best coaster at Hershey, but it's not quite my favorite RMC. It's very close, but not quite. At number 2, we have Airy Force 1 at Fun Spot Atlanta. Now, this ride is very close to the number 1 spot. I mean, very close. But I do like that other one for a little bit more for other reasons. But this one really does feel like the all-star of RMC elements. It's just everything they've ever done that's so good, all packed into one ride and done masterfully. The first drop is really solid. You have that first inversion, which is really, really cool. I found it very interesting because it's very floaty. Then you have the 0G stall, which is just ridiculous. The hang time on it is unbelievable. Excellent outer bank turn following that. And then you got the double up, which just rockets you out of your seat. The arcade roll, which is one of my favorite inversions on an RMC coaster because it just throws you. Then from there, you have that helix section packed with airtime moments, the inversion, so much good stuff. And then the finale that tries to kill you, which is it's not really a quad down. It's more like 6 airtime hills in a row. But it is ridiculous. That is the one element on all the RMC coasters that I struggle to do over and over again because it really does start to hurt you after a while, which is kind of crazy to think, but it does. And what's great about this ride is that you can marathon it very easily. There's very rarely very many people there, so you can usually just sit on it and keep going and going and going. I think I've ridden it close to like 50 times, and I've only ever been there across 2 days on one visit, so you can really rack up rides on this thing. And I like it both front row, back row. It doesn't really matter where you sit because it's going to be great either way. It really is one of the most all-star coasters out there. But I do like one coaster a little bit better, and that, of course, at number 1 is Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa. I will say after my most recent ride, I am tempted to put Airy Force over it because it wasn't running quite like I remembered. But I've had so many good rides on Iron Gwazi over the years to know this thing is definitely still incredible. It is my personal favorite coaster I've been on. What I really like about it more than anything is its pacing. It doesn't try to fly through these elements and just like blitz through them like a lot of the other RMCs do. All of these elements feel like they have a big presence and like you're leading up to them, and then when you get to them, they're absolutely unbelievable. For example, that first outer bank is ridiculous. The death roll is ridiculous. That is one of my favorite elements ever. The overbanked turn is really, really good. You get crazy airtime coming out of it. Then you have that outer bank stall, you have the wave turn, you have the stall, and the entire rest of the ride that it just flies through. And to me, you know this ride is really ridiculous when you see just how much speed it has going into that brake run. it feels like it's going like 60 miles per hour into the brake run, which I know it's not going that fast, but it maintains its speed through the entire ride and just never lets up. And to me, that is what a coaster is all about, just being relentless and insane the whole way through, and Iron Gwazi definitely makes that happen. But that is it for all the RMC coasters that I have been on, all 20 of them. Let me know down in the comments how many RMC coasters you've ridden, what you think of my rankings, what you would change, what you agree with. Of course, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.